Hey everyone, I wanted to go over getting a model off Sketchfab and bringing that into Maya. So let's go get ourselves a character model. Let's just type in character, downloadable. If you want a character that has a rig in it, you can click animated. These characters will all have a skeleton and a mesh, a weighted mesh. I don't want to show that example though. I actually want to go get a GLTF file. Let's see. So I found one in here. And this guy right here. So let's go ahead and click on this character. And if we download this character, we'll see this GLTF format. So if we were to go into GLTF format, you can see that it stands for Graphics Library Transmission Format, or it was formerly known as a WebGL format. It's a standard file format for three-dimensional scenes and models. So this is actually a really great format. It has the textures in there and everything. It's a good format to work with. You can't work with it in Maya. You have to actually bring it open in Blender first and then bring it into Maya. So we're going to do that today. So let me download this. I'll go to my downloads folder real quick, and you can see I've already downloaded it once. And so I would just 7-zip extract that to this. I've already done that right here. So let's open this up and see what's in here. So we've got our GLTF, basically our scene and our textures. So we've got a couple textures in here. So let's open up Blender. So Blender's free if you haven't downloaded it before. Oh, whoops, I'm not sure what that was. I'm not a pro Blender user, but I know how to get around in it. And what Blender is really good for is, so all I did was select that cube and delete it. I'm just going to go File, Import, and I'm going to bring in a GLTF. So unfortunately, Maya just doesn't want to, Autodesk doesn't want to pay to bring in all of these different file formats. Maya can basically bring in an OBJ, and it can bring in an FBX. All of this other stuff, though, it can't do. So Blender's really great for that. So this GLTF format, we're just going to say import GLTF. I'm going to go to my downloads and engineer character, sci-fi, click on scene, and we'll say import. And he's big, he's quite big. We can click on this and see his textures. If you're not familiar with getting around Blender, you can actually use these controls here. You can click on this and just drag. You can middle mouse zoom. Um, if you alt middle mouse drag, it'll take you to these different positions. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to export him out. So let's go ahead and we'll go back to file. We're going to go to export, and I'm going to export him as an FBX file because Maya can easily deal with that. And we'll just call him, I don't know, character engineer maybe. Okay. So over here in the path mode, I'm actually going to change this to make a copy, and I'm going to click this. And it's my understanding that that will basically copy these textures into this file. We could select if we just wanted to export the mesh. I just generally leave all of these selected and leave all these settings. I just go to export. And that should be it for Blender. Okay, so let's just create a new file, and let's import our um, our mesh. So import, I think I saved it in my documents folder, engineer, character, or did I call it character engineer? I think I called it character engineer. Okay, import. All right, so right off the bat, I can tell you this thing is absolutely huge. So we imported a light and a camera from Blender. We don't need those. I'm just going to delete those. It looks like whoever created this model had put it through Sketchfab, and because there are nodes up here, we don't need those. So I'm just going to select our objects, our mesh objects under here, and I'm going to hit Control P and to unparent them. And I'm just going to select this and this, and I'm just going to hit delete. Okay, so now we have these two mesh objects. Um, and unfortunately, this whole thing is so large that we can't even see it at this point. So the way Maya works is it only shows you, let's select our camera and our perspective view. You can do that either by selecting the camera here. You can go view, select camera. Either one will work. Go to your attribute editor. And so we're only seeing between our near and far clipping planes. So what's happening is this object is so big, it's actually going past the far clipping plane of the camera. So what you can do is under the attribute editor, when you have your camera selected, you can just add a few zeros to this. And then our whole object should now be in view so we can see him. If you have like this weird kind of flickering stuff, you can actually change your near clipping plane to a 1 or a 10, and that should fix that for you. Um, so it looks like, so I mean, if we could go even bigger if we wanted to. So it looks like that's fixed our problem there. Let's hit 6 on the keyboard, and that should show our textures. So everything came in great with our GLTF format. So the next thing we need to do, let's combine these two objects because it's a little bit weird. We kind of have everything and a few things. So we're just going to select both of these, and we're going to go to Mesh, Combine. So it's combined these two mesh objects into a new object, object 4. And because Maya has history on, you're just going to want to come up here and go Edit, Delete by Type History, and that will get rid of those objects and just make it one object, okay? We still have an issue with scale though. So I always tell my students, come down here to your, well, if you're familiar with Maya, you can tell like the grid is barely visible. It's this little thing down here, okay? So you can come down here to your this little running man, click it. If we go up here to settings, you'll see the working units, and I have another video on working units, but basically it's centimeters, okay? Don't change that, it's centimeters. So what that means is if you create anything in here and it's 1 unit big, so we've created a cube, and we come over here and we see that the scale of the cube is a 1. So if we were to hit F on our keyboard to go see that cube that's here in the center of our grid, actually let's just go to a front view and we'll just move this cube up. So you can see it's 1 unit big. It's basically 1 unit of our grid big. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to change that cube to be 183. So let's zoom out and I'll just place this so the bottom of it is approximately on the grid, and I'll just make it a little bit smaller. So the reason I do that, and let me go to my browser real quick, is so 183 centimeters in feet is 183 centimeters is approximately 6 feet tall, okay? So we want this character to be approximately 6 feet tall, right? So currently he's this tall. So he's massive, right? So we need to get him smaller. So let's select him, and let's actually, I'm going to hit D, I'm going to hit W and D, and I'm going to move his center pivot basically to the grid. I'll hold down X and I will snap it to the grid. I'll hit D again, and so now that his center pivot snapped to the grid, we should be able to take this to 0, 1. That's looking better. I'll hit F to zoom in, and we still need to scale this down a little bit more. So I mean, this is close enough, right? So he's approximately 6 feet tall at this point. All right. So we want to clean all of this. We can delete our cube. We don't need it anymore. It served its purpose. And we want to go ahead and I don't want these numbers to be like this. I want everything to be, um, at 1 basically. So we can go modify, freeze transformations. And so what that's going to do, watch this area over here. What that's going to do is it's basically going to set our new scale to a 1. So if we were to scale him up to some number, we could just set the scale back to 1 and we'll know he'll be 6 feet tall, basically in the real world. Okay. So let's go to a perspective view. Oh, I'm actually glad I did that. So I was looking at this character from the front view, and that's great, but he is not centered. So let's go to a right view and let's center this guy up. So whenever you get anything from Sketchfab, you really need to bring it into Maya or you need to bring it into Blender. We did bring it into Blender. We didn't do all our work in Blender. I'm not sure how he got so offset. Maybe because he was just so big that when we brought him down to 0, he was offset. But I'm just basically centering him up, on X and on Y, um, and on Z. So again, his translate Z was way off. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to modify freeze transformations again. So that's all at 0. And let's just rename his mesh to, I'll just double click on it and say mesh, engineer, something like that. And we can do a safety save, maybe save scene as, I don't know, character engineer. Okay, save. And let's go ahead and let's export this guy. So I'm going to go File, and I'm going to say Export Selection. And, oh, you know what? Before we do that, actually, let's just make sure that his history is totally deleted. So I'm going to Edit, Delete All-Way Type History, so that, just trust me, it just kind of gets rid of any baggage within Maya. I'll do a save again, and then let's export this guy. So File, Export Selection. I'm going to export him as a FBX. The default preset should be fine. We don't want any animation. We just want to make sure that his textures are on this character. So we could go to Edit Presets, and we could look in here, and we could see that Embed Media is checked. So we definitely want that. That's really the only thing we want in here. But you could go through and so you could save this preset if you wanted something special. All right, so let's export this selection, and this is going to save in my documents folder, and let's call him. I did this a couple times before, so I'll just do it again. Engineer character for Mixamo. So I just generally do that as a safety for myself, so I know that this is like kind of pre-Mixamo. And let's go ahead and we'll just export this. All right, so let's go to Mixamo. You can, they have default characters you can use, and you can throw animations on those characters. And you can then export those characters with animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload our character, this one we just saved. So let's select this file. So in my documents folder, I save this engineer character for Mixamo. We're going to open that guy. And eventually, he'll come in. So he's coming with his textures. Just looking at this character, I'm not sure how well these bottles are going to come in. It's like, it's honestly, it's a horrible place to put those because you wouldn't be able to bend over at the waist, right? Which would be a little bit weird. But and our character doesn't really have a chin, but we're gonna say that this is his chin right there. We'll put this on his wrists. We can kind of see where this fabric is. Elbows. So it's going to place these joints wherever you place this. So, you know, A lot of times there's clues kind of on the costuming itself with the knees here. I'm just guessing. Groin's pretty obvious, obviously, somewhere in here. And you can choose your skeleton. Um, so, if you had kind of like mitten hands or something, you could go with something like this. Well, I guess this is technically more of a mitten hand. This is kind of like, this has like a two-finger setup and a thumb. And then no fingers. If you didn't have any fingers or you needed more of a lightweight skeleton, you could go with that. I'm going to go with the standard 65. I'm going to hit next. And eventually, come on. Eventually this thing will come back. Yay. Okay, great. So, so let's put this guy in a T-pose and, whoops, what? Oh, because I'm under characters. Let's go to animations. Um, and let's see his sides here. How does he look? It looks pretty good. This hose is a little wonky in here. You could go in and reweight that if you wanted to. I don't think that's kind of extreme. I don't think we're gonna notice that. I think probably for idols and stuff, it will be fine. These bottles are a little bit weird here. Let's see. Let's try some kicks. We got some kicks in here. Kicks. So his pants are looking pretty good. Let's go to some walks. And let's see what this looks like. And we can click this follow camera down here. These bottles are actually not looking bad. Let's try some like bend over or something. Let's try this. Okay, so we're definitely getting penetration on the bottles. Those don't look so great. Um, and the bottle, okay, yeah, you can see the bottles are totally bending in here. Okay, I was worried about that. All right, so let's go fix that, okay? So let's go back to Maya and let's go select these bottles. So we made one solid mesh. We can go back in and separate the mesh. So we'll go back to, so we're under modeling. I don't know if I mentioned that before. So we'll go into mesh, go to separate, and that's going to blow this. It's going to create a lot of different polygonal groups. If we hit shift and plus, you'll see there's like a million of them now, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is let's just hit left mouse button, click this stuff. I'm going to hold down shift and I'm just going to select a bunch of this stuff. And you can hold down control if you want to uncheck something, shift again to kind of add. And you know what we're going to do is we're just going to create a layer group. So I'm just going to, we're going to click on this and it's going to take everything we've selected and put it in a group and we can turn that group off. Okay, so it's nice. Actually, we'll go to perspective view. We can see that, like, thank God this guy actually modeled stuff under these bottles. Like, the bottle's not part of the default model, which is good. They're like add-ons. So I'm going to go to a side view and I'm going to select this stuff. I'm just going to right click on layer and say add selected objects. And so we're just going to quickly just kind of add these to this layer group. Um, add selected objects. Right click, add selected objects. And looks like we got one more, add selected objects. All right, I think that looks like everything. Okay, so all we have to do is we can actually now right click on this and say select objects. Let me turn the group back on. And so we have all this selected, and we can just hit delete, and that will delete everything. And so this guy still looks good. Like he's got all the belt on. He doesn't need those bottles. I think he actually looks better without them. So what we're going to do is we're just going to select all this, and we're going to go mesh combine. There's a lot of meshes to combine, so it's taking a minute. And what we're going to do is, actually, I'll leave that open. I'm going to hit edit, delete all by type history. You could do delete by type history. And so it's going to get rid of all that stuff because that's all history, okay? And I'm just going to rename this thing again, mesh engineer, you know, without bottles or something, if we wanted to, and we could save this. Actually, let me double click this and let me just copy that. And so let's select this dude and we'll go File, Export Selection, and Export Selection. And I'm just going to paste that name in, Mesh Engineer without bottles, Export Selection, and I'm saving this to my Documents folder. Okay. All right, perfect. Um, let's go back to where we were. Let's go back to Upload Character. Let's select this character file. Documents, Mesh. What do I call this thing? Mesh. Yeah, Mesh Engineer without bottles. Okay. hmm Next. All right, let's place all this stuff again. Place his chin. Place his wrists. Place his elbows. Place his knees. We're going to say that's right. And place his groin. Okay. 65 skeleton. All right. Come on. Come on. Okay, great. All right, so let's look at some runs or something. Run, run. I don't know what kind of crazy run that is. Run. We'll click on this camera. Follow cam. Yes, I mean he's not looking bad. He looks pretty good actually. His waist is looking way better without those bottles. Um, let's see what a drunk run looks like. Yeah, I mean, I think he's looking great. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's go to a T-pose, and we'll throw this on here. And yep, I'm just gonna download this guy. Download with skin. We always want to download the T-pose version with skin. Download. And so we've got him T-pose 4. That's just annoying. Okay, so we'll rename. Whoops. We will rename this. Rename. And we'll call him engineer. Actually, we'll just call him, yeah, engineer character. Um, after after Mixamo. Okay. And so there you go. So I hope that helped you guys, and go out and start playing with some characters. All right.